Today we're going to be going over the GeniusPOS for retail. So this is going to be the main login page of the software. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, we have a clock in and out feature. Now, the employee code is going to be given out to your employees when you create their account. So right now I'm just going to put in my code. And as you can see here, we have a clock in, you can clock out, you can start your break or end your break. We even have a feature where you can do an emergency clock out, which basically will force someone off the clock. So in the event that maybe someone walks out the door, they forget to clock out, you can go and basically force them off. And if you need to adjust those time cards, there is a feature in the back end of the software to where you can make that adjustment later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and log into the software. Now, once you log in, the first thing you want to do is in the morning or when you first start, you want to start your shift. Now, the software, we can have this set up to where it doesn't allow you to ring in items unless your shift is started. Now, I'm going to hit the start/end shift because it's the same for closing your shift. Now, at this point here, you can see on the right side, it's going to give you the denominations from pennies, nickels, dimes, all the way to 100. If you want, you can either put in each denomination, or a lot of our clients, what they would do is they would just type in $1 for how much they have in the register. So it's going to confirm the amount. I'm going to hit yes, and it's going to start my shift. Now, there is a feature here we can disable if you don't want it, to where it will allow you to print out the denomination report. So this here would just give you a report showing you exactly what you started off with, and it even breaks it down by each denomination. So once your shift is started, now you can start ringing in your products. So I'm going to go ahead and scan one product in. As you can see here, it's going to ring it in. You can see the name of the item, the quantity, price, and then your discounts. So the discounts basically at any point, if you look at the bottom here, you can see a line discount. I'm going to go and hit here, and then it gives you the option for either an amount. So this can be like 50 cents or $1, or you could do a percentage where that could be like 10% off, 50% off. So I'm just going to do a, let's say a discount, and then what's going to happen here is going to show you a reason why you're doing it. So at any point you can choose any of the options here, but it's just very useful for your reports. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this as a manager request. If I do other, I could basically type in a custom reason on why I'm doing a discount. And then I'm just going to discount it by, let's say, 50 cents. A couple of the features you have down here is you can delete the item. This would basically delete the line item off the screen. If I change the quantity, this will increase it. So instead of you scanning it multiple times, I can hit the change quantity and change that to, let's say, 10. So as you can see, the quantity is 10, price is going to be $10, and then you still have that discount added on because it's discounting every single item by that same amount. And then you have the void item, which is the same as delete, but it basically clears everything out. So if I wanted to remove the entire line item, I can hit void item, or if I wanted to delete maybe 5 of them or a couple of them, I can put in how many I want to delete. And then I have my comp, where this is more if you're basically giving the product away for free. So it's complimentary. That's, say the customer had a bad experience, you just want to give that to them at no cost, but you still want to keep track of it in your inventory. You can use this comp feature, which gives you the ability to do either the current item, or you could do the entire order. And then reorder just basically reorders the same exact product. Now it won't add any discounts, so as you can see here, it's just going to have another line item at $150 with no discounts. Now at the bottom left here, you're going to see a couple of different other options. We have show menu, which basically, if you have products that maybe don't have barcodes on them, or we have a location that has a restaurant and there you have a retail store right next door, but they share the same database. So what they do is they go into the menu and they can see all of the products in stock, or everything pretty much laid out in your departments. So if I choose the department, you'll see everything here. We have some guys that would have a lottery department. So this way they can choose each individual lottery ticket and apply it to the invoice. If you want, you can void the item as well, or void the entire invoice by using this option here. Search customer. Now, if you are wanting to keep customers in your database, there's a few benefits to doing this. The number one benefits to having a customer database is basically your loyalty program. So I can go in and I can create a new customer, or I can edit the existing one. And as you can see here, it's just going to be my information. You got the name, got the phone number. You can put down the address, the customer notes, customer name, whatever you want to put in here. But if you look down at the bottom right, there is a loyalty plan I can apply to. So what this does is if you get enough points, that person can get a free maybe gift card or a free item in the inventory at no cost. Then you also have the ability to hold the product. So let's say if a customer comes in, they bring in the 5 Cokes, but they left their wallet in their car, or they have to go to the ATM to get cash. Now, instead of you holding up the line until it gets back, or having to delete everything and then re-ring it back up when a customer comes back to the location, you can just put this entire order on hold. It's going to clear off the screen. So at that point, you can start ringing in of the customers, getting them taken care of. And then once that customer comes back, you can click on the option here that says recall on hold order. And then this will give you a list of any orders that are still on hold. So as you can see, this is the one that we just did now, but there was one 2 days ago that if I wanted to, I could just recall that. Or in this case, I'm going to go and just recall the existing one here. So it comes back exactly how it was before. It includes the discount. Anything else I added on will basically revive itself. And if you want, you can even print the check right now. So I'm not going to do it, but if you, at this point, I'm going to go and just pay this out. So I'm just going to hit the pay button here. You can see the remaining amount is going to be $541. So that's the total that the customer owes at that point. Now we have a lot of different ways you can pay the order out. If you look down here on the left side, you can actually type in the custom tender. So if they gave you $6.45, you can type that exact amount in. Or if they give you, say, $10, you can type that in. We also have a bunch of quick buttons at the bottom. So you have $100, you have $50, $20, and $10, which is like the most common amounts that they would hand you. So instead of you having to type it in, you could just quickly hit 10, and that would just close it out as if though they gave you $10. Now, at the bottom here, we have a bunch of other tender types. So we have cash, which if you hit this button here, it assumes the exact value. So it assumes that they gave you exactly $541. Or a lot of the employees, they're pretty good at math, so they use this feature because they can count in their head exactly how much change to give the customer back. We also have check. Check basically will allow you to enter the check number, and it will close it out as check. And then if you have credit cards attached to your POS system, you can click the credit card option, and then it will basically allow the customer to insert the chip or slide the card. We do support gift cards, but this is pretty much internally gift cards. So we can have a custom-made gift card created. The customer can come back in to redeem it, and you would use this feature to do so. We also have EBT that you can use as an option. On account is basically like a credit for your customers internally. So essentially, they won't pay you right now. They will maybe pay you next week or next month, but at least you can actually keep track of that in your customer files, and you can see the exact balance and how much they owe you. Now, the store credit, that's an option to where you can basically give the customer credit for the next time they come back in. So very similar to gift card, they'll have a set amount of money on that store credit, and you type in that store credit number, it closes out the order, and then basically tells them how much is on the store credit if there is any. Now, the ones on the right side here, you got Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. These are custom made tender types that we created for a client of ours. Because there's times where the customer would pay by Cash App, but they still want the system to keep track of how the order was paid out. So this can be customized in the back end, which I'll show you after this. And you can create your own payment types however you want to, all from the back end. Now the grand total is going to be 541. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say the customer gave me $2 in cash, and then the rest they want to do on credit card. So I can type in the exact tender of $2 and then hit the cash button. It's going to basically put this into the paid so far, which is $2, and then it's going to tell me that now my remaining balance is $341, to which at this point I can just pay it out by cash, credit card, or whichever other payment type I want. In this case, I'm going to do credit card, which you can do 2 credit cards or 3 credit cards, however you want to, as long as you're paying the lesser amount. So I'm going to hit credit card. It's going to prompt if I want a receipt. I'll say no. It closes the order out. Now, if it was cash, it would basically give me the change due, if there is any, and pretty much process the order and close it out from there. Now, at the very top of the screen, you have a couple other features in the software. So at any point, I can click on recall order. And even if the order has been closed out already, you may have a discrepancy or any issues, I can scroll down and you can see this is going for an entire month of sales. So if I wanted to, I can go back even further than that. There is no limit on how far back you want to retrieve your orders from. And let's say I'm just going to open up this order here. We'll hit select. And basically it'll ring everything up here. And I can't add anything to it because this order has already been closed. But it's a good way for you to look in here. You can see exactly what they purchased. If you want to print the check, you can. If you're done looking at it, you can just go ahead and hit in. And that basically closes it out. Recall on-hold order. I've showed you that feature that just basically allows you to recall any on-hold orders. We can also click on coupons, which if I have any coupons available, it will allow me to add that to each individual item. So if you have maybe a military discount, senior citizen discount, you can add that to any item that you pretty much want. I'm going to go into the more operation. Now this here has a lot of different features, some of which you may never use, but it's there if you need it. We have things like the order discount, where this allows you to discount the entire order. Now something has to be rang into the software, so I'm going to go ahead and just scan one thing here. I'll go to more operation, order discount, and same as the line discount, where I can do an amount or percentage. Let's say $1, and it will basically discount the entire order by $1. Also have order notes, which just allows you to add notes to the order. Now we can put notes already added to every single order. So if you had any return policies or anything that you want to apply to the order, or I'm sorry, the receipts, you can have that preset, but it's not going to be here. It's going to be in a different part. And then you can also do a tax exemption order. So if you have a church that comes in, or someone that's a part of an organization that are tax exempt, you can click this option here, and you can select which tax rate you want to exempt, which in this case I'm going to do the sales tax. And then you can see it's just going to remove the tax from the order. Another feature we have here, you can set the order total. Now what this does is it actually changes the price to whatever you set as the price. So it doesn't matter if the order, let's say it's $30, you can say, hey, I'm going to do this for $25. Maybe there was an issue, or you know the person personally. You can click here and you can just go ahead and type in the exact price that you want to charge the customer. And it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to go, grand total was 20 cents. We also have another feature for surcharges. Now I don't have any surcharges in here, so I can just go in and create that from the back office. And then there's a feature called Surcharge Master. This will allow me to name the surcharge. So let's say convenience fee. And then you can either do an amount or a percentage that's going to be added on. I'm going to say an amount of, let's say, $3. The minimum amount is saying how much has to be in the order before you can apply the surcharge. I'm going to leave that at 0. And then I'm going to check in the box for it is active. So now if I go back into the order screen and I hit the more operation, apply surcharge, now I can apply a convenience fee to the order, which you can see now the grand total is $3.20 because of that surcharge. If you want, you can also change the customer ID or the cashier ID. So this is, let's say for example, another employee comes in, they take over. Instead of you logging out, you could go into the operations and change ID and type in the other employee's code, and it will basically change the cashier that's signed in to a different cashier. Now this doesn't mean you have to stop your shift or anything else. It's just going to change the employee that's on the order. Now, at any point, if you want to do a no sell, you can click the option here for open drawer. And then as you can see, it's going to prompt for a reason why you're opening the cash drawer. It could be either to get change, or I have an other button here where you can manually type in a custom reason on why you're opening the cash drawer. If you want to print the last receipt, there's an option here, last gift receipt. Now, pullback order is a cool feature. This allows you to pull back any orders that you've already closed out, any event that maybe you made a mistake or you need to correct an issue. How this works is you first have to have a blank order in the invoice. So right now I have a Coke here, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm just going to go ahead and just start a brand new item or a new order. So if I go into more operation, I'm going to hit the pullback order. And then it's going to ask which cashier closed the check. So as you can see, these are the employee numbers. Now, if I had a name attached to the employee, then you would see the name there. But since I don't, you're just seeing the employee number. So I'm going to go and just hit this one here, which I believe is the one we're referring to. And I'm going to choose the order number, which the order number will be listed on every single check. You can also find it if you click on that recall check option or recall order option. So this one here in the case should be the last one I just rang in. So at this point, I can either view it on the screen, which is basically the same as recalling the order, or you can print the receipt, or we could do what we're doing here, which is called pullback, to which I'm going to say yes. So as you can see, it re-rings that bottle of Coke here. And then if I want to, I can add things to it, make adjustments, or I can go ahead and hit the pay button here. And then you can see the grand total is 0. That's because I've already paid it out. You can see I paid $2 in cash, and then I paid the $3.41 in credit card. But let's say the customer didn't want to use their credit card. They wanted to use something else. Then you could close this out or hit the X button. It basically voids the credit card payment. Now, this varies depending on the processor, because there are some processors, especially in retail environments, that will not allow you to void a credit card transaction after it's already been processed, to which at that point you'd have to give them a refund, which I can show you next. But cash you shouldn't have an issue with. Let's say if the customer wanted to remove the payment here, we can delete it and then choose a different payment type to close it out. So let's say I'm just going to close this out as Cash App. And then it asks if I want to print a receipt. I'll say no. And basically it's going to close it back again. But as you can see, I just made a correction to it. So now my reports are going to show up differently. So that's how the pullback works. It's a way for you to adjust any or make any corrections to orders that you've already settled. We can also print the void orders. So if you have any orders that you voided, you can go in and print that out. Reprint order. It's similar to recall an order, where it allows you to see any order that you've already settled or are currently open. Click here, you can go ahead and reprint the check, and it'll just reprint it back out very easily. Cash pullout. Now that's a cool feature because in any event that you need to pull money out of the register, this can be maybe you're taking money out to put it into the safe for storage, or taking it to the bank. You have too much money in the register, you can click on it, And then what should happen is it should give you an estimate of how much is in the drawer or in total. Now, because I have 3 stations on this machine, it's calculating all of it. So ignore the maximum here. I'm just going to say let's just do $10. As for the description, it's going to ask for the reason why I'm taking it out. I'll just say test, enter, and then I can even print a receipt. And what this does, it allows me to pull $10 out of the register. And so this way it's not going to come up short when I go to end my shift. Now, drawer management, this is a cool feature because we have some locations that have so many stations that they don't want to go to each machine to close the shift. So in that scenario, you can click on the drawer management, and this will show you all of the cash drawers you currently have open. So as you can see here, we have station 1, we have station 2, and station 3 still open. And if I click on it, I would have the opportunity to go in and actually close out that register. So this can be done on a back office terminal, or if you're on a different machine, you can close that out. But it's just like a nice little cool way of doing so. So on the right side here, you're going to have what's called time clock management. Now, this is the feature where I was explaining to where if you wanted to adjust any time card, so let's say, for example, a customer or an employee forgot to clock out, or they clocked in at the wrong time, came at the wrong time, you can go into time clock management, and this will give you a list of all of the employees that have clocked in. So as you can see, I'm the only one that's been using the system here, so you're just seeing my time cards. So what time I clocked in, what time I left. So if I wanted to make any adjustments, so let's say, for example, I didn't come in at 10:58, I actually came in at 9 o'clock. I'm going to go on the right side here and click on change start date. And then I'm going to set the date, which is the 1st. And then I'm going to say, instead of this time, I'm going to go and say I came in at 9 o'clock a.m. And then as you can see, it's just going to adjust that time. So now it looks like I came in at 9 and then I left at 9:04 p.m. Which if you wanted to adjust that, so let's say I left at 5 o'clock, for example, I can hit change end date, choose that same date, and then I'll just put in that that I left at 5 o'clock p.m. And just like that, it makes the adjustment. Sometimes if it's any further back, or if a different time, you can filter it out. So I could change the from and the to date. Just make sure you hit the refresh key afterwards so it updates. You can also filter it by specific employee. So if you only wanted to see Bethany or John, you can select him from the filter. So I'm going to close out of here. A couple of the features you have down here is credit card settlement. This is a way for you to manually batch out your credit cards. Now keep in mind that there are settings in the back end to where if you don't want the system to manually batch out, or you can just do it yourself, to where essentially you click the credit card settlement, batch your credit cards, you're good. Now if you want to, you can have it set up to where it'll automatically batch out. So if you want it, let's say at 5 p.m. or 10 p.m. every day, we can set this up to where it automatically batches out your credit cards. Now, this only applies to if you are doing credit card processing with the POS system itself. If you're not, if you have your own company or if you have a machine on the side, then you would just continuously work the way it's been working with as far as the auto batch. Now, your day in, once you're done 100% with the day, meaning all of your shift has been closed, everyone's clocked out, you're pretty much completely done, you can use this day in feature, which essentially would tell you, okay, this is your expected deposit, which in actuality, this is the amount because I did a cash pull out. This is saying how much I should have in the register, or I should be bringing it from the register. Now, once you do that, it will give you a day in report, and then it timestamps it. So if you ever wanted to go back to that report, you can do so at any time. In and out operations. This is a cool feature. This allows you to do any vendor payouts. If you wanted to hit receive money, drawer transfer, credit to customer, which credits the customer is like a refund. So let's kind of go over these pretty quickly. I'm going to do a vendor payout. You can see I have 2 different vendors. If I wanted to add another one, I'm just going to hit the add button here. Now there's a lot of information in here, but honestly, if you just want the name, that's all that's required. So I'm just going to say Cisco, for example. Everything here, you can just do that at your own leisure. And I'm going to hit save. And that pretty much just adds that vendor in. So now I have Cisco as a vendor, and let's say they come in, I want to give them, let's say $20 from some supplies, and then the description is basically describing the reason why you're giving them a $20 payout. I'm going to say products. And then you can pay them by either cash or by check. And as for the reason why, I'm just going to say this is for your own custom reports, even though the other one shows up just like that. I'm going to say purchase. And I don't want a receipt. And that basically does my vendor payout. Receive money, there are times where you will either you find money, or there are some cases to where you would give you will pull out money, but you're going to plan on putting it back later on. So in this case here, you can use the receive money feature to do so. So let's say I'm going to put in, let's say $50. Let's say missing money as the reason why you're doing it. And I'm just going to hit receive money. And if you want, you can print a receipt. I'm going to say no. Drawer transfer, this allows you to transfer from one drawer to another. So I don't have the other drawers set up here, but essentially you can go in and transfer an entire drawer, so that way the other station would get that register. And then the other one here is going to be credit to customer. Now this is more so for a refund essentially, but you're not actually taking anything or putting anything back into stock. This is just you going in and say, I'm just going to give you a $20 refund. So as for the select customer, you could just do a standard customer. If you have a customer added to your database, then you could have that customer as selected. But in this case, I would just do the standard customer. And the amount, let's just say we're going to give them $10. And then the description, what's the reason why you're doing it. So what I usually do is I put, for the description, I'll enter the check number. Say check number 125. And let's say customer upset. Who knows what the reason why you're doing a refund. And I'm going to say credit by cash. And then that essentially would allow you to take $20 out of the register and then hand that to the customer for the refund. And if you want, you can put the receipt. I'm going to say no. A couple of features in here, import and export. This actually is more so for importing your inventory. There's another video we can go over this, but normally if you don't know what you're doing, I would kind of stay out of here. It's more so for if you have inventory you want to import, it's in bulk, it's on an Excel file, it would need to be in a specific format for you to actually import it into your software. Stock adjustment. This one here allows you to adjust all of your stock. So there are ways of doing it from the import, but what I would do is I would just go ahead and hit the show all button here. You can also scan the barcode if you have something specific you want to go directly to. But if you hit show all, it would just show every single item in the inventory. And if you want to adjust anything, so let's say this one here is, it says -10, we're going to change that to 0. And let's say this one here should be 5, we're going to change that to 5 here. And whatever adjustments you make, just make sure at once you're done, you're just going to hit the save button here. And then that will update those stocks. Stock received. Now this one here is like if you're receiving stock into the software or inventory, we're first going to hit the new stock receive button. And then if you want, you can select the vendor. I'll just say Amazon Distributors. If you want, you can also add it from here too. You get a reference number. I'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not really required. These are just for your own records. If you want, you can scan the barcode, or you can hit the add button here, and it will just show you pretty much your inventory where you can search by, either your category. So if you only wanted to see, let's say, miscellaneous items, you can show that here. Alcohol, whichever category you want, so you can just go from there. The departments, same concepts. If you wanted to see only things in alcohol, but we want to see beer, then you would see a list of only those products. If you just want to see everything, you can just go ahead and check in the no category selected, and this will give you a list of all of your products. And then we have tons of other ways to filter it. If you want to see it in alphabetical order, just click on description 2 times, and then you can see here it just kind of filters that out in alphabetical order. If you have a specific name, so let's say I'm just going to do Bud, a couple 3 words, and you can see how it's giving me anything that has Bud in there. So even if the word obviously says Buddy, it's still going to show it because I put that in there. And then once you find your product, just hit select, and then it's going to ask if you want to do a case or each. Now, the case will only work if you have this set up properly, which I'm going to show you in a few. In the meantime, if you just want to add a couple of them in there, we're just going to say each. And let's just say we're adding 20 bottles in here. The received cost is how much you paid from the vendor, which I'll just say 50 cents. And you can keep on adding on to this here. And then once you're done, just hit the save button. And that basically will add all of those different products into your stock. Send mass email, that's just a nice little feature for you to send emails to all of your customers as long as you have them in there and their emails assigned. We'll go into the reports later on. This is pretty hefty, but age verification, that's just a way for you to verify that they are over age. Now you can do it this way, or you can set it up within each inventory item so that it requires age verification, whether you type it in manually or if you want to purchase an ID scanner from us. This will allow you to scan the driver's license to verify that they are over the age required. And then we even have a way of checking the EBT balance. So it doesn't have it on here right now, but just you can go in here and scan that or that a card, and it will basically check exactly what they have on an EBT card. Now, purchase order, it's a new feature we added. This allows you to do a new PO in the software, and you can send this out to your vendors so that they can come back and add this to your stocks. So what you first want to do is you want to hit new PO. It's going to ask if it's going to be an order, or if you're returning products to the vendors, you can use that feature too. So I'm going to say order. The vendor, we have the vendors that you already have in the system. Let's just say we're going to add the vendors for this company. And it gives you information. This, just like the other one, it's not required. But if you want to have complete records, you can put in all of the information. It's just going to show up on the PO reports, essentially. So for the ship method, I'll just say truck, reference number, terms and conditions, none. And this is the expected date. Let's just say it's going to be next Saturday. And the instructions. And the shipping information, now this will get added by itself if you have it set up in a company info detail in the back office. But since I only have retail store in there, that's why it's not showing my address. But if you want, you can manually type in your information. And then towards the bottom, so at this point, what we can do is we can click on where it says add select item. Now, because I don't have any vendors in there, it's not going to show up anything. But you'd have to basically add your vendors to each product, and it will show you a list of everything that has that vendor. So I think I do have maybe one. This is fine. It's not. I can just add a new item and then put that in there. So as far as adding the inventory, I'm just going to go ahead and just do reorder quantity. Let's say once it gets down to 5. The reorder level, let's just say we'll just do 5 as well. Where to cost, I'm going to put $1. I'm sorry, it's 50 cents. Vendor item number, that's not really important. I'm just going to put anything in there. And at the vendor, we'll just say Coca-Cola. Now at this point, you can also enter the case cost. So if I wanted to say if you buy the case, it costs, let's say, $10. And how many comes in that case? Well, let's say maybe 20 comes in a case. Cost per, we're going to do that at 50 cents. And then I'm going to hit update. So now that I have it in there, if I go back in and go to Coca-Cola, now you're seeing the Coca-Cola as an option that I could choose. And if I hit select, I can either add the case to where if I say 1 or 2, if I do 1, it'll just ring in 20. If I do 2, it'll do 40. So I'm going to say I'm ringing in a case of, let's say, 1 case. Now, once you have everything added in here, you can go ahead and save this. And then if you want, you can print the purchase order. I'm going to say yes. And this essentially was what it's going to look like. Let's give it a second to load up. So as you can see here, it's going to show the PO number. It's going to show how it's being shipped, the instructions, pretty much all the information that I already had added onto it. And then it's going to show you here the information about the products that you're ordering. Bottle of Coke, units, how many cases, cost per, quantity ordered. And essentially this is pretty much ready so that you can send this out or email it to your vendors, and then they'll bring it to you guys at that point. Now, once that's completed, or once the vendor comes back to actually bring you the products, you can view it, and then at the right side of the screen, you can say, hey, I received it. I received, let's say, if you receive 10 of them out of 20, you can type that in, or if you received all of them, there's an option here where you can say receive all. And as you can see, it's going to receive the products, and it's going to show the exact total cost received. And then I can basically close the PO once I'm completely done. And then once you close it, it basically closed the PO, but if you received it, it will add that into your stocks. So as far as the operations go, as you can see, it's pretty simple enough. The reports, if I go in here, it has a lot of reports. As you can see, I have categories of them, from sales to payments, customers, employees, inventory, additional, basic, and custom. If I go into, let's say, the payments, you can see it's giving me more reports on credit card logs and batches, credit card details. So this would actually show you all of the credit cards that you process, and it will give that in detail. So if I wanted to check and see, now this one here, this customer, it did not process with us, so the details that they're given is just going to be the date and the type. But if you were processing with the POS, it would even show you the card type. If it was Visa, MasterCard, American Express, it will give you the card number, the transaction ID number, the reference number. So anything that's pertinent to you having any issues, discrepancies, that will show up in this report. But because they're not processing with us, you're just going to see like the basic information. And then if we go back here to our cells, there's a lot of different cells, from like your void cells. You can see like category detail reports. This one here is called your daily detail report, where this would show you all of your cells daily. So I'm going to go and just go back from the first until now, hit show, and then you can either view this as a full size or receipt. Our software does work with full size printers, so if you do have one you want to attach, feel free to plug it in, connect it, and you can print those reports to that printer. So in this case, I'm just going to show it as a receipt, and you don't have to print it. If you want, you can just go and hit display, and that's essentially just going to show you everything you've done. So you can see it has my undiscounted sales, net sales, how much in taxes, breaks it down by payment type, so you can see how much you did in cash, credit card, and then even the payment types that we've created that are custom, it will give you that grand total here as well. And then if you can see, it'll scroll down, you can see we've done payouts. It even does the payouts by the vendors. It shows you what the statistics are, average per checks. If it scroll down a little bit further, it breaks it down by department, so you can see every single department and what they've sold. It even shows your void sales. Now that's just one of the reports, and as you can see, there's others too. like we have one for inventory hourly report. So if you want to know what you're selling every single hour, I can click here and then you can see, okay, between 8 and 9, these are the products you're selling. So it gives you the quantity and then the amounts. And then from 9 to 10, it kind of breaks down by that. And then from 10 to 11. So it just, every single hour, it would just kind of break it down by what you're selling the most of. There's also reports here on gross profit, so it tells you exactly what you're profiting. The only way this works, however, is that you have to have the cost put in there in order for that to calculate. So you can see here total sales and total costs. So based on that, it's going to show your gross profit here. And if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see gift card information. We got daily sales summaries, quick sell information. Any of these reports, as you can see, we can go back as far as you want to. So if I go back to, let's say, last Saturday, you can see here it's going to give you a daily sales total. So it tells you exactly the cost, the price, how much in taxes, and it breaks that down every single day. So this is what you do on the 2nd, this is what you do on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. Every single day will give you that sales total. If I go into like my inventory, you can see the most popular items, where it just shows you a list of everything that's selling the most of. So based on this time period, you can see that the this item here is the most top selling item because of the quantity it says sold. So best thing to do, there's also ways of filtering it. So if you want to go into categories, you say, hey, I only want to see this particular category, or same thing goes for your departments. If you want to only see certain departments, you could do that as well. But the best thing I would do is I would basically go through all of these reports and just kind of get familiarized with them, because there's so many reports from like your employees. You want to see how many hours they work, who's still on the clock. You can see that from here. There's basic reports where you can see hourly sales, which if you go in here and goes back to a certain time period, this will allow you to see how much you're selling every single hour. So from 8 to 9, you're doing about $200. From 12 to 1, you're racking it up $1,300 per hour. So all these reports are pretty useful, especially when it comes down to knowing what time is your busiest hours or what time you're selling the most items. You can always go back here to see that. So going back into the screen here, I'm going to go into the back office. So this is where pretty much everything is going to go as far as setting up your products, mix and match, employees. Everything goes down in the back end here. So I can go into the 3 settings here to create your new items. It's going to be menu category, menu department, and then you have inventory. So if you're doing a new menu category is very broad. So to kind of give you an example here, if you were doing, let's say, a liquor store, then you can basically have a category for alcohol. So I know it's very broad because pretty much everything is alcohol. And then if you go into your menu department, you can have a department called beer, but it will still be listed as an alcohol category. The reason for this is so that if you wanted to know what you did in beer sales, then you'd have a department for that. But if you just wanted to see in general what you've done in alcohol, you could just look at your category report, because it doesn't have to be just this. You can go into like your wine, and the wine, even though it's its own department, it will still be listed as an alcohol product. Now your inventory, this is where you're going to go to create your new inventory items. So if I want to go in and create a new product now, the first thing you're going to do is you want to make sure you hit new. Now, a lot of our clients, they go in and start changing things here. If you make any adjustments to this item, it would just adjust that item. It wouldn't create a brand new item. So make sure you always hit new. So at that point, I hit new. It will generate a new code for you. And then you can change the department to whichever department you want. So let's just say we're going to do a new wine item. Now the item name, that's the name of the product. So let's just say it's going to be Let's see, this is wine. We're going to do Moscato. Secondary language name, that's if you wanted to have a Spanish, or I think that's all we have is a Spanish translation for now. You can put that in there. The description does not show up on the menu or the order screen, so it's not important, but if you wanted to add any additional info just for yourself, you can. The cost is how much you pay from the vendor, so that's your cost. So I'm going to say we pay, let's say $5. And then underneath that is going to be the price, which is how much you charge your customers, which I'll say is $14.99. The sales tax is already put in. If you want to make adjustments, that's going to be in your back office, and there's a sales tax setup where you can easily adjust that. Now, the current stock. Now, you can adjust this in the beginning, meaning when you first create the Moscato, I can go in and say I have 10 bottles. The moment you save this, this will be grayed out to where the only way to add stock would be to use the purchase order feature or the receive stock feature, or there's an option here for ad hoc PO where this will allow you to adjust your stocks. Now, as far as the barcode, there is an option here called SKUs. If you hit the add button here, this will allow you to scan the barcode. So I'm going to go ahead and scan that now. It's going to add it on here. So now that's basically it for creating a pretty basic item. But obviously there's a lot more if you want to get more complex. Down here, show and menu. If you want this to show up on the order screen when you hit that show and menu button, you can have this checked in, which is already checked by default. If you don't want it to show up, then you can uncheck it here. You can still ring it up. It doesn't just allow you from ringing it in. It's just it won't show up as a button that you can click. Is inventory item. That's pretty important to make sure that's selected. That keeps track of your stock. If you have any items that you don't want to keep track of, maybe you're selling things like lottery, you don't want to really keep a stock of that because it doesn't have stocks. You can uncheck this product so that way it doesn't go into the negative whenever you look at your reports. Price discounts, that's a cool feature. This allows you to create sales based on, let's say, the time and the date. It could be a weekly thing. It could be a time-based thing or from 5 to 6, Monday through Friday. You can set that all in here. So let's say if the Moscato is going to be 10% off, but it's going to start in October on the 1st, and then it's going to end on the 16th. We can set that in ahead of time. Hit save, and that'll basically add that adjustment here. So at that point on the 1st, it'll automatically add the 10% discount, and then after the 16th, it will go back to its original pricing. Let's see here. There's a lot of features you probably won't use, so I'm not going to go too much in detail. The ordering, you've seen that feature. You can add your vendors. You can even put in your cost per item and the case costs and how many comes in the case. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. It's going to save the item. So now if I go back into my order screen, I can scan that same product, and that's just going to ring up just like that. So it's pretty easy to add new products in. Like I said, if you do have an Excel sheet, we can even import it into the inventory, make it a little bit easier for you. If you want to make any adjustments to the prices, then you want to go back to your back office, go to inventory, and then we're going to go to search. And basically I can search this anyway. I'm going to just type in the first couple words, Moscato, hit select. And at any point I can change the name, I can change the cost, how much I pay for it, or the price I charge my customers, and anything else in here you can adjust as well. And then once you're done, just make sure you hit update, and that's going to save any new information that I added in. Now going back to the back office, there is a feature called Mix and Match. Now how this feature works is this allows you to essentially go in and let's say you have a sale going on where they could buy any 2 Gatorades. Let's say you buy one, get one 50% off, but you have like 10 different Gatorade flavors, and they all have different barcodes. So you can go into mix and match here, and then you can create the mix and match. So essentially, let's just say this is going to be I'm going to say Bud Light cost. So I'm going to put that in. You can do a percentage, or you can do an amount, or a bulk price. I'm going to say discount percent of 10%. The minimum quantity, they have to at least get 2. And you can even have a promotion for this, for let's say this only lasts for a month or lasts for a few months. If it doesn't end, there's no way to disable it, so you can just put this kind of ahead of time. Let's just say 2035, it doesn't matter. Hit select, and then all you're doing is you're adding all the different combinations. So I'm just doing this as an example. Just kind of throw all this in. And essentially how this works is, now that I have all of these products in, if I were to ring up any 2, it would give me that discount, essentially of 20% on the second item. So you just have to add it in here, hit save, and it'll automatically update into the software. Now this only works if you have a feature enabled in your store settings, and this is called combine line. So make sure that's enabled, because if not, it will not allow you to do it. So going back here, your employees, if you want to add any new employee into the system, we're going to go over to the employees tab, and then we're going to do new. And then obviously you can see here we got the department, which is already selected for employee, the ID, which is already generated, and then the passcode, we're just going to put in, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. The display name is what shows up on the receipts. It's just, you can have a nickname if you want to. It doesn't have to be your legal name. I'm just going to say the guy's name is Tom. And then the personal information, you can obviously put in the first name, last name, middle name. But everything else, it's optional, but I do highly recommend that you put this in for the employees for security purposes. And then you got your employee role, which allows you to select a role for that employee. Now, the roles actually come in place when it comes down to the amount that they're getting paid, but it also applies to what they can and can't do from the software. So if you don't want them being able to void things, you don't want them doing discounts or going into your back office, look at your reports, as long as you have that set up in their employee role, they can do it. So once you have that selected, just hit save, and that'll add that new account in there. And then speaking of the employee roles, if you go in here, you can see that we have the cashier, the manager. To create a new one, just hit new, put in an abbreviation of it. So we'll just say janitor. You can put in the default wage and overtime wage. And then you just make sure they have access to the POS if you want them to use the software. If they're just using it to clock in and clock out, you can just have that unchecked. Role permissions, that's basically going in and assigning what they can and can't do. So if you don't want them doing, let's say, hitting pay, then you can change that to yes, which gives them access to it. If you say no, it denies them from access to it whatsoever. If you do prompt, this actually goes in and it allows you to secure it to a point where it requires a manager to come over and put in their access code, which will give them access to it for that time. But any other time that they want to go back in, it will deny them again and require manager's approval. Now, managers should only be used for the manager account. So as you can see, if I switch over to it, it has full permission because it's the same as yes, but it also gives you the ability to grant access to someone else. So if someone else wanted to do something, they would require that on their account to grant them that feature. All right, so going back here, once you're done with the shift, you're just going to click on the start/end shift feature. And as you can see here, we have the drawer start amount, which is basically how much you started off with. It will calculate your cash sales. So if we did any cash sales in the software, then I can go in and it'll calculate that as an amount that's also going to be in the register. So based on everything here, including the cash pullout, I should have a total of $160 in the register. So if I count everything out, pennies, nickels, dimes, hundreds, and it doesn't add up to that amount, on my shift, it will tell me that I'm short by this amount of money. So I'm going to hit yes to continue, and that'll close my shift. If I still want to print that denomination report, I can. I'm going to say no, and that closes that shift. Now the shift can be closed very many times. You can do it per station if you want to keep track of it, but it's always going to rely on the day in as the complete closeout of everything, essentially your Z out. Now that's it for this part of the training. We will be making another training video to kind of go more into details on the software. Any other questions, feel free to give us a call. Our contact details will always be included on the bottom left here. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. We'll go from there.